right, it's Thanksgiving morning. You know, a little about 10 o'clock or no, 10:30 Thanksgiving morning. And I'm gonna mess around here with the Mini for a while, at least until I don't care about the Thanksgiving parade. They just keep making it worse and worse, and I don't give a crap about that. But the dog show, I like watching the dog show. So at noon, I'm done for the day. But until that time comes, I want to get this thing serviced. Well, first I gotta get it dug out, and then I want to get this thing serviced because this weekend I want to start working on tree projects. So, but I got, of all stupid things, I forgot to get a fuel filter for it. I got oil filters for it, and what I want to get done today, hopefully, I got glow plugs for it because the glow plugs in it don't work, which hopefully it's just the plugs. They're not a wiring issue. I doubt it's a wiring issue. I got a feeling it's probably the glow plugs. But for 20 bucks a piece, and for kind of a big as a pain it is to get to them, it's just cheap insurance to just put new plugs in it, whether that be the issue or not, and just be done with it. And then this other stuff is, I just ended up getting cat filters for the engine on the 270 because you start looking at filter specs on cat stuff versus aftermarket, and it's like, yeah, they cost a little bit of money, but the specs on the cat filters are just so much better. They're worth it. So I'm probably gonna start buying cat filters for the 150, the engine on the 150 too. Plus we got a nice shiny brand new cat dealer like 5 minutes from home now, so it makes it easy. But in order to get to the glow plugs, naturally they're on this side of the engine. So it appears, and hopefully it's all we got to do, but at least got to pull the seat. Looks like there's 4 bolts that hold the seat on, and then the seat comes off. So, but first things first, let me get stuff out of the way. Also, fenders and fuel tank are painted for this thing, and the seat is in process. So there's that. Well, it seems like an odd choice, but I only see 3 bolts holding this seat base on, so this is the joystick pedestals are their own separate dealio. There's that guy, and then there's one back there in the corner, but there's not one back in that corner, so that's kind of weird. I guess we'll see if it comes loose when I get these 3 out. Alright. There's our rail for the plugs. I guess just because before I take anything apart, go get a multimeter, and we will man, hope those things come out okay. But get a multimeter and throw on there and make sure we got voltage. I mean, you can hear the relay click. The light comes on, you can hear the relay click, then the light goes out, you hear the relay click off. So at least the relay's working. If the relay's working, as long as all the connections are good, the wiring should still be good. So, but I guess real quick we'll just give that a look-see. Alright, so I tested the voltage, at least here to the input wire, and we got, when the keys when you turn the key on and the relay fires, you got voltage here. When the relay goes off, voltage goes away. So everything's working correctly up to this point, and this is just a solid steel bus bar. So there's not going to be anything wrong with that. So we're just going to throw the new plugs in it and call her square. This thing being a Florida machine, and I remember this thing's a 2007, something like that. I mean, she's old. Being a warm weather machine, glow plugs, even if the glow plugs went out, they probably never noticed it because they probably never needed them. And I'm not, I guess I don't know how anybody else feels about it. I'm not a fan of these auto cycling glow plugs. Because when you don't need them, I mean, they always run. Even at 90 degrees outside, it's going to fire the glow plugs. So you're wasting them when you don't need them. And then when it is cold out, like today, they only cycle for like maybe 10 seconds. And then you got to keep recycling. I'd rather have a button. You can control the glow plugs independently. But that's just me. Now, hopefully, they come out. I guess we'll try one and see what happens. I'm gonna go get a little bit of slick them and spray on them and hope for the best. I am scared. No way. No way. That was too easy. I was like expecting to snap it off or something and have a good old time. Oh, well, yeah, I dare say. Let's just compare an old with a new here. I think we located the problem, ladies and gentlemen. Ta-da! And that's why I don't like auto cycling glow plugs. Just 6 months out of the year you don't need them and they still fire. Even if it's only for a split second, it's still wearing on them. But that would explain why it ain't working. Holy crap. Okay, so I don't necessarily want to anti-seize these, because if that stuff gets anti-seize can kind of screw with continuity under certain conditions. But I am, just to help continuity and provide a little bit of corrosion resistance, I'm going to throw some dielectric grease on the threads. Can we go 2 for 2? She is being way too kind to me. I've seen horror stories about guys trying to get glow plugs out. There's not even any rust on these threads. Oh yeah, that one's even worse yet. No wonder she wouldn't start for shit when it was cold. Okay, all 3 glow plugs are changed. That went super easy. Cleaned up the connection points on the bus bar, cleaned up the lug on the wire there. Everything's tight. So, I guess we shall see. Cycle it one more time. Well, it's never started like that before. I mean, never tried to start that quick before when it's this cold out. She's never been much for cold starting, but This is the other thing I don't like, is apparently there might be a timer on that relay. And now it won't refire the plug. Me and cold starts on camera do not go well together. Come on, darling. Well, it's still not a really good cold starter, but it definitely starts firing a lot faster. It doesn't black smoke like it did, so. I mean, previously you'd sit there and you crank and you crank and you crank and you crank and it'd black smoke and it'd white smoke, and finally you'd get tired of it, you'd shoot a little bit of ether in it, it'd fire right up. So it's never done that before. The other thing we've noticed about this, or well, I've noticed about this, is if you let it set for extended period, because this thing probably hasn't ran. Dad did a quick tile job with it for the neighbor. It was before I started harvest, so it's been sitting here for at least a couple months without running. You let it sit for an extended period of time, I think it like partially loses prime. And it'll start, run for a second, die. It'll do it like 1 or 2 times and then it'll finally pick up and go. It's not a big deal, it just... So, that takes care of that job. Just gotta put the seat back on, but I'll let it run for a little bit. Warm up so I can drop the oil. Okay, now it's almost noon. I'm just gonna go ahead and get the oil draining and I can finish this job up real quick Friday, because I'd like to. I think the cat dealer's open Friday, I hope. If not, I guess we'll have to wait, but I would like to get the fuel filter for it, since I forgot before we finish up the surface. Remember if that hole, yep. A couple of those holes are slotted, a couple of them aren't. When we first got this thing, we played hell. It never wanted to start, it cranked slow, acted like a dead battery. We put a new battery in it, it would be fine for a while, and then it wouldn't. It charged funny. Well, one day, I can't remember what I was doing, but I had this pan off. I think I was changing the oil in it. I think I was doing it over at my house in the barn. dropped that pan off and got to looking. There used to be one of those flat, like stainless steel ground straps right here between that bolt and here. And the damn thing had snapped clean in two, and the only continuity was making was the fuzzy wires from the brake would rub together. So it wasn't, anytime you put a high voltage load on it, the current would just collapse. Changed that thing, all of a sudden it charged fine, it cranked fine, everything was fine. We fought that for a long time. Because this entire, the engine, hydraulic pump, everything on this is rubber isolation mounted. So the only thing tying the engine to the frame on this for any grounding is that cable right there. So if that thing fails, that's all she wrote. Of course you would. This is about the most awkward angle to work at. Okay, I'm gonna get a ratchet. Alright, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it right there for the day, and I'll let it drain, and hopefully tomorrow afternoon, once we get done putting up Christmas decorations, get this thing finished up and get it moved up to our first job site. So, I guess, with that being said, happy Thanksgiving. Everybody watch out for that dangerous food coma. And that's it for this one. We'll catch you guys on the next one.